Good morning. I'm Eddita Felt, and I'm happy to be with you again today. It occurred to me after we did the last video that people might have some questions about how I do what I do, or some questions about paranormal investigations. So I have here in front of me this little basket, and this little basket is full of questions that people ask me about doing paranormal investigations and about being a psychic medium. So I'm going to reach in and I'm going to pull out a question, and we'll start with that one and we'll just keep going with that. So this question says, how old were you when you first saw a ghost? Well, when I first saw a ghost, literally, physically, I was in my I'm going to say my late 30s. The first time I actually had an experience with a ghost, I didn't see it, I heard it. And I was about 3.5 years old. And I developed my auditory channel, so to speak, developed more quickly than my visual channel. And the next thing that happened for me was that I began to sense ghosts or spirits in the room or in a house that I was visiting in, or actually in the house that I lived in. And in my book, Real Maine People, Real Maine Ghosts, we're going to be talking about the very first big ghost experience that I had. There were some smaller ones, but the really big one I had was when I was 14 years old and living in Portland. So, that answers that question. And the next question is, what is the difference between a haunting and just having some friendly spirits? And the difference between a haunting and just having some friendly spirits is we all have spirits in our houses, in our businesses. Spirits are everywhere around us because the realm of spirit kind of interpenetrates this realm. It's at a different vibration, but it's around us all the time. Some people are more sensitive to that than other people. Because you have friendly spirits around you most of the time, those spirits are usually spirits that have already gone to the other side. I don't categorize those kinds of spirits as ghosts. There is a difference between a spirit, a ghost, and a residual energy. And a spirit, say my grandfather who comes to visit me a lot, or my cat Trust who comes to visit me a lot, or my dog. These are friendly spirits that are around me a lot. They're not ghosts, because ghosts have not gone to the other side. They have passed over. They have left the physical body, but they have not traveled through to the other side. They are what we call earthbound. Earthbound spirits need to be helped to move to the other side. When a house is haunted, the house has earthbound spirits in it. And there is a need for that to help them to move to the other side. I actually consider this an ethical requirement of being a good medium. An ethical medium will assist earthbound spirits to move to the other side. I think of that as part of the way the universe has set things up, is that mediums and spirit guides step in to help people who have left the body but weren't ready to move to the other side for some reason. There are lots of different reasons actually why that happens. One of the things that can happen is that the person has unfinished business. Often a young mother who is very worried about one child in particular may have a little bit of trouble letting go and moving to the other side. Another situation would be someone who is under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time of death. I have observed that when people die under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they're not really aware of having passed. This can happen sometimes with people who die suddenly in a car accident or some other kind of tragic accident. They're not aware that they have passed to the other side sometimes. And we, on this side, are closer to them than their spirit guides are. They're still able to relate to us more easily, so they show up in our houses. And our responsibility is to assist them to get to the other side. I have found that they tend to go towards people who have some ability, some psychic ability, some ability to feel them or hear them or see them. And that's because they are hoping that that person will assist them to get to the other side. So that's the case for earthbound spirits. Now, a residual energy is, for instance, there are a couple of definitions for residual energies. One would be the case that people have lived in a house for a very long time and argued and fought for a very long time, and it was a very stressful household, and you might come to look at that house as a prospective buyer and walk in the door, and you just get this feeling that it's very uncomfortable here in this house. You're picking up that residual energy of the people that lived in that house prior to you. It also happens with cars. I once went to buy a used car and got in the car and took it for a trial run, and I could not buy that car. And when I talked to the used car dealer about it, he told me that it was owned by a man and woman who had got a divorce. And that in the divorce settlement, they sold the car. So I was sort of reinforced in my belief that they sat in that car and argued all the way to work back and forth, which is what I was feeling. So that's a residual feeling. Other residual feelings are like, for example, a ghost that repeats itself. It seems to be a ghost, but it's not really a ghost. In the olden days, when we had black and white televisions in the late 1950s and in the 60s, when you would first turn your television on, or when you would first turn it off, there would be a little test pattern and sometimes snow that would be left behind. And that would go on for a little bit of time after the TV was turned off. Well, a residual haunting is similar to that. What happens is that a strong emotional feeling has been impressed on the atmosphere, and this strong emotional feeling is replaying. And that replaying is not a real spirit. It is not an earthbound spirit. It is, in fact, a impression, a psychic impression, an emotional impression that has been left behind. And my experience has been that those kinds of residual energies tend to show up more in particular kinds of weather, when it's really sort of damp out, when it looks like we're going to have a thunderstorm. You're more likely to see those kinds of residual hauntings, so to speak. And I really don't like to call them hauntings, but I think it's easier for folks to understand if we say it that way. Okay, so those are residual energies. The spirit, of course, is what we have with us when we are born in our bodies. It's connected to us. It stays with us through many lifetimes. And when we leave the physical body, then the spirit continues on. And that's why we have spirits around us in all of our homes, all of our businesses, and that's very normal. Most of the time, it's not an issue. Most of the time, it's wonderful to connect with your spirit loved ones. Thank you, and talk to you next time. Be well.